So in the Bible, it talks a lot about slavery, right?
Yes.
Yes. So in that, it teaches you how to take care of a slave. Rather than saying slavery's wrong, I think
No,
it
it
should
says
say
that
that.
in the story of Moses.
It says slavery is incorrect. It says
Well,
it's
that's
immoral.
why Moses leads his people away from slavery.
That's crazy. The problem that the Bible has with slavery is not with slavery as a concept, but that the children of Israel were enslaved. So as soon as the children of Israel make their exodus out of Pharaoh's enslavement, they immediately go and they start enslaving. They go to war, after 40 years in the desert, wandering in the desert. Then they're going to war, and there are commandments that are being given on war, harem warfare, taking slaves, taking concubines. These rules are given by God in the Bible. And if you're a Christian, of course, you believe that God is Jesus Christ. So it's Jesus Christ commanding enslavement. And very detailed rules on slavery, very detailed rules on taking captives, including children, young girls. But Peterson is saying, the story of Moses is proof that the Bible is against slavery. This is a farce.
Does the Bible predicate and tell people exactly how to take care of a slave? Isn't that immoral? Wouldn't you say that culturally we've evolved as a species, as he said earlier about empathy?
Yeah, I would say that the reason we evolved, so to speak, away from slavery was because the West was founded on Judeo-Christian morality and the presumption that every person was made in the image of God. And so slavery itself became immoral, and that was established by Protestant Christians in the UK, who then convinced the UK government for 200 years.
If slavery was banned because of Christianity or because of the Bible, then why did some of the most religious Christian societies, like in Latin America or in certain African countries like Ethiopia, why didn't they ban slavery? Ethiopia didn't ban slavery until 1942. So some of these very Christian countries, religious Christian countries, Bible-abiding countries, they didn't abolish slavery at the same time as in the UK and in Europe. So if the common factor in opposing slavery is Christianity, then why don't we see this throughout the world? And in fact, some of the most Christian countries in the world, they held on to slavery into the 20th century, over 100 years after it was banned in the UK. In the UK, or in Europe, let's say, and in America, it's liberalism. It is adopting liberalism and this notion of equality that led to an ideological opposition to slavery. That didn't come from the Bible. It didn't come from Judaism. It didn't come from Moses, who is commanding slavery in the Bible, in the Old Testament. The abolishing of slavery is coming from this adoption of the liberal notion of equality of human beings, number one. And secondly, the technological advancement that the world was going through, the Industrial Revolution, that made slavery unnecessary to win wars. You can win wars without slavery. Therefore, what a coincidence. Right as the technology appears, the Industrial Revolution happens, you no longer need slaves. Magically now you've understood that slavery is immoral. Now, right at the same time. What a miracle of a coincidence that now we know that slavery is wrong. And slavery has been wrong this whole time. It just took us the Industrial Revolution, where slaveries are no longer needed to win wars, that we've discovered this. Wow. And then you back project it onto the Bible. The Bible is very pro-slavery, including the New Testament, by the way. The New Testament also tells slaves to obey their masters. So this is really a hilarious type of cope that we see from Christians, that they want to take credit for abolishing slavery. No, it was liberalism and it was technological advancements. And if in the future there is some kind of regression technologically, slavery is going to be coming back with a vengeance. Slavery is going to be back on the menu, boys, because the technology no longer exists to win wars without slavery. Slavery is a requirement, especially if you don't have the technology to wage wars. You have to resort to slavery. And that's why every single religion, every single culture, every single advanced civilization had slaves and promoted slavery through conquest, where you are expanding your territory and you are conquering people and taking them as slaves. You're promoting slavery and you're regulating slavery. Every single religion and culture, and no matter how you try to cope with that, no matter how you try to rewrite history, it's still there. Like, that's still the obvious reality, and it looks ridiculous. It looks ridiculous when you say, this is the most evil thing. This is something that any person of conscience has to reject. So you're saying that all of human history, like, people were evil? people were evil monsters who didn't have the moral sense that was magically discovered 200 years ago? How does that make any sense? How can we reconcile that? Were people morally blind for the entirety of human history until just 200 years ago? What happened? Like, what created this moral awakening, this sudden realization? As a religious person, you can't have that perspective because it destroys tradition. It destroys the concept of, well, the Bible was revealed in the past and it promotes slavery. The Quran was revealed in the past. It promotes and regulates slavery. Hindu texts, the Vedas, promote slavery and caste slavery, especially Buddhism, all of these religions, and even secular. Look at America. Look at the founding fathers. They were slave owners. So you have to throw all of that in the trash. And when you do that, you undermine your own religion, you undermine your religious text, your religious tradition. And Jordan Peterson obviously has no problem doing that. But even some of the actual Christians do this as well. They're fine with throwing their Bible under the bus, throwing past Christians under the bus. And that's why their religions have been reformed beyond recognition.